Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
The following program is rated TVMA. This program may contain strong opinions, explicit language, and possible adult themes. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the Smoke Free Radio Network or its affiliates. This program is meant for mature adult audience. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
That was interesting.
Welcome to another edition of Vaping and the Mic. Tonight we've got a friend of mine from here in Ohio. Going to turn out to be a kind of a good evening. We've got a lot of information. But joining us tonight as our guest is Mr. James Jarvis from the Vapor Station. We're going to get to him in just a few minutes. Right now, just to stop and say, hey, good to see everybody again for another week. I appreciate you joining. If you're listening on a replay, looking forward to seeing you or hearing from you on our next show. A couple of things that I want to talk about just really quick, though. And this one has only got just a few days left to go. And again, this is the ANPRM on flavors, the FDA. They're still looking for comments. They've given us a 30-day extension thanks to the Vapor Trade Association and some other fine folks that worked very hard and diligent to make that happen. But they're still looking for comments. And if you go to their website, the regulations.gov, you'd be able to leave your comment. Just when you do so, try to be polite, try to be tell them what flavor helped you stop smoking. Let them know what was really going on. One of the quick things that I want to be able to say about that is there is another portion out there, and I'm going to check with James here in just a few minutes, about Scott Gottlieb had turned around and said that a lot of this was just more anecdote than turning around and being any kind of serious kind of thing. And I can understand part of that, okay? Because this is more of a story that we tell them how flavors helped us. You know, they didn't give us any guidelines. They didn't say, here's what you really need to do. They just said, oh, go leave your comments. We'll check them out. And all the vapors have been diligent, and if you look at that website, and I took a screen capture just a few minutes before I started the show this evening. If you take a look at that screen capture, there's 426,000 comments. All right, now I know that not all of them are going to turn around and be from vapors. There's probably some naysayers in there. I wouldn't doubt it. But 426,000 comments. I mean, those are just anecdotes? Really? FDA? I mean, come on. That's almost 500,000 people that somehow are taking the time to stop and tell you, look, flavors did this for me. So I can't see it, but there's a new push, a new kind of thing that's going on right now, to go back and talk once again about how it might not be just an anecdote, and there's a form and things like that. And we'll talk to James about that in just a minute. But again, if you get the capability, the time, please, by all means, go check out and leave your comment for the FDA ANPRM. It's really kind of serious because the FDA wants to just absolutely wipe out any kind of flavor for not only tobacco industry, but for us, the vaping industry. And to me, that not only does it irritate the hell out of me, but that's just dead wrong. You know, because again, and I've heard someone say this before, and I'll repeat it because it bears repeating. In our industry, tobacco is a flavor. So what are they going to do? Ban that too? I mean, really? Glad to see some people jumping on here on Facebook. Hopefully, I finally, after all this time, I added a secondary monitor. So now I can run all of the software that I need on one side and be able to look over here and check out some of the comments in the Facebook live feed. And as I go along, I might add another one to do more for the Wirecast and things like that. But I'm looking forward to being able to catch people as they are coming along and maybe asking questions and how things might be going. All right. I don't think I'm going to rant about a whole lot more this evening. Yeah, I mean, it's the important thing. Oh, I did hear, if I am not mistaken, a couple of good pieces of news this week. The New York State flavor ban shot down. And the pending material, if I'm not mistaken, that was happening in Massachusetts, shot. And I'm glad to see those. You know, we're talking about taxation, talking about T21, and you're seeing them pop up more and more all over the place, and it is becoming a hellish kind of battlefield as we go along. It's one of the reasons that I really, really am glad to have James on the show this evening, is because I want to be able to tap his mind and tap his information and kind of see what his thoughts are, working on it from the other side, so to speak. But anyhow, as you go along this evening, and I'm going to be getting James on the phone here in just a moment. But first, I need to be able, if you would bear with me, I need to be able to thank our sponsors. If you get the chance, please check them out.
Hey now, this is Dimitri with Smoke Free Radio reminding you to please show some love to our wonderful sponsors. Without them, there would be no Smoke Free Radio, and they are as follows. All the way from Florida, Moon Mountain Vapor, with locations in Florida, and their liquid available for wholesale and retail, moonmountainvapor.com. Some of the best custards and tobaccos on the market from the Brickwills Vaping Company. The lovely Shell with a vapor bar, locations in Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. And of course online at thevaporbar.com. And who says you can't have award-winning e-liquid without cartoon characters? That's exactly what you're going to get at theplumeroom.com. And finally, of course, the Vaping Advocate magazine that has generously provided the telephone lines for you to communicate with us. Thank you for your support. And finally, for you, the listener, don't forget to check out the coupons and codes page on Smoke Free Radio. Pick up some e-liquid and save some money. From all of us here at Smoke Free Radio, thank you for your continued support.
We're going to see if we can pick up Mr. Jarvis here real quick. Of course, it might actually help if I dial it correctly, wouldn't it? Hold on one moment. This is what I actually need a third screen for.
Hello?
James!
Hi!
Ladies and gentlemen, it actually works. Technology is a wonderful thing when it comes along. Mr. James Jarvis, liquid manufacturer, store owner, president of the Ohio Vapors Trade Association, the OHVTA. James, I really appreciate you taking time to join me on the show this evening.
Hey, Mike, I'm happy to be here, man, and congratulations on the show. Been listening the last few weeks, and it's really good. Doing some great things so far.
I really appreciate it. I love doing it. It's one of those things when I was offered the opportunity, I couldn't say no. To be able to have the chance to sit here and run my chops and talk for a while. God, I'm almost bad as David Gorelitz.
I'm the same way, right?
Well, listen, there's a whole slew of things that I want to be able to talk with you about this evening. And one of those things, I'm finding a lot of people... Well, there's another country heard from. I left the window open. Imagine that. But a lot of people are turning around now. I get bombarded with so many questions I can't even really begin to tell you. And I'm sure that you're exactly the same way, being the president of the OHVTA. The one thing that I really want to bring up real quick, because this I find massively important, and judging by the conference call this morning, you do as well. If you would, first tell me about your store and the things that you carry there, and then we're going to jump into things that happened in the last couple of days.
Well, with our stores, Vapor Station has about 20 locations in the state of Ohio. Roughly 13 of them are in central Ohio, and the other 7 are up in northeastern Ohio, around the Massillon, Akron, Canton area. Started about 6 years ago by a guy named Jason Gang, best friend of mine and just an amazing person. The same gentleman also started a cigarette company called Westside Vapor 10 years ago, actually almost 11 now. And he brought me into the fold way back then. And when stores came around, he offered us a chance to open up one of his stores, basically in Columbus. You know, our store, but his name. And that's kind of how it went to be. And now you fast forward 6 years, and we're where we're at. Our stores cater basically to your smoker that wants to convert, all the way up to the intermediate vapor that is looking for a great quality kit and great quality liquid. We really kind of shy away from the hobbyists because that's not our expertise or our thing. But we have a lot of great stores around us, like in Columbus, Top Notch Vapor for one. They kind of cater to the hobbyists and the enthusiasts, and that's just not something that we really ever have excelled in with our stores. We kind of focused on the beginning side.
Now, you brought up a really good question just right there, right off the bat. And I know because I'm listening and I'm talking to all kinds of different people. But for some people that might be listening or watching, you mentioned the hobbyist and the enthusiast. How do you make a definition, or how are you defining between a normal vapor, somebody that wants to quit smoking, but how are you making a definition between them?
Well, I mean, first you have to look at, is it a brand new vapor? Somebody that smokes comes in, obviously, you're not going to put them in a device that, one, could potentially harm them if they don't know what they're doing. 2, has way more power than they're ever going to need. And 3, you want to give them the most realistic experience for transition that you can. So for me, that's That's the first part of this. The hobbyist comes along once everybody starts to understand battery safety and Ohm's law, and then you also got the higher end devices that maybe aren't over $200 and $300, limited edition pieces, mechanicals, RDAs, stuff like that are going to be more toward your hobbyist or your enthusiast. Just not something that we chose to focus on. We want to do, as my wife just said a minute ago, build the bench and try to convert as many smokers as possible. And hopefully those folks continue to shop with us and then eventually move on to a hobbyist piece if that's what they want to do. I'm more interested in getting the smokers right now converted over because we got 40 million of them to bring to our side of the fence here.
That's awesome, because I know that I've caught a few people in certain groups talking about a hobbyist versus an enthusiast, and they compared it to cars and different things or whatever kind of an analogy they could come up with. But I like the way that you're being able to break that down and saying, okay, and your stores are focusing on being able to convert smokers directly to vapor products. That's awesome.
Yeah, that topic actually came up. That actually came up in one of the congressional meetings that we had yesterday in D.C. We were talking about how our store is more focused on the entry level, and I said there are some stores that are more focused on the hobbyist and enthusiast. And the congressman looked at me and just kind of smiled and says, "Well, what the heck's an enthusiast or a hobbyist?" I said, "Well, it's kind of like a car. If you either want a Chevette or you want a Corvette, but once you get that Corvette, you want to soup it up and modify it the way you want to, and that's kind of what these devices, and that's kind of what these people are with these devices. They want to personalize them and make them hit as hard as they want to, and get the biggest cloud that they want, and and show off. And that's, I don't want to say show off, but be proud of what they've built."
Yeah, and that definitely classifies as the enthusiast.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned, and there's probably a lot of people that may not have known or weren't paying attention or just might not have been in the loop. You, in the last couple of days, went to, and like you said, you went to a conference and you were in Washington, D.C., and you were able to meet with some of the congressional leaders. Who sponsored that conference, and what was the main gist of it?
Well, this is the third year Vapor Technology Association has held this conference in D.C. The first year I was not in OHVTA at the time. I just went down on my own as an invite from Tony with VTA and Demetrius at the time, and so I went down and just kind of took it all in. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't trained for this type of thing, and I just kind of wanted to go see what it was all about. Come back, and within 3 months, joined OHVTA, and we went on to have our elections at the end of the year, and I wound up being elected by my peers to take over the president's role at OHVTA. So I went back the second year, and we kind of stepped it up a little bit. We had 2 other members come with us, Sarah from Top Notch, who was our secretary, and Jeff Kathman from Cincy Vapors. Cincy Vapors, he was one of our directors at large. He came with us, and it was just a really good day. We had a few meetings. We also took our lobbyists down, which we had never done before. So this year we decided to kick it up with a little bit of a twist. Our lobbying firm here in Columbus for OHVTA has an actual former congressman working in their office as a lobbyist. So when we set out to do our scheduling with VTA as far as getting the congressional members and the Senate members, which normally VTA has Waterfront Strategies, which is their lobbying firm, do all the scheduling, our lobbyist, Charlotte, decided she was going to see if Sarah, their admin, could help us out a little bit and get maybe a couple extra meetings with some folks that we hadn't had a chance to meet with, like Senator Portman and Senator Brown's folks, by using the former congressman that works with him's name. And it worked. We had the most meetings on the Hill out of all the groups that were there yesterday, and it was pretty amazing. But yeah, that was all put together by VTA. There were several sponsors for like a breakfast. I know Vapor Beast and Turning Point sponsored the lunch. And as far as that goes, I know that company specifically stuck out. I know our friend Fig Ramsey showed up the day before for the reception and spoke at the Americans for Tax Reform reception dinner and spoke about vape tithing and all great things that are going on that he brings to this industry. So that's kind of just how it started. But yeah, it's a vapor technology piece that they've done now for 3 years in a row.
Wow. So you kind of went just from being an advocate and a store owner and moving kind of rather rapidly right into heading up the OHVTA by the sounds of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
That's how it went.
There was something that, and we had the conference call for OHVTA members this morning. There was something that was mentioned that really seriously grabbed my attention, and you had mentioned, I believe, that it took a couple of hours to go over. But can you tell me a little bit about what was spoken about in battery safety at that meeting in Washington, D.C.?
So VTA had a battery panel at this meeting that consisted of a gentleman that represents a law firm that has to deal with, an insurance firm that has to deal with these claims, a person from UL, which are the folks that are now setting standards for the batteries, and there was a gentleman from Turning Point Brands, Vapor Beast, that helped to secure a deal with a battery company over in China for Radio Shack to produce 18650s, Class A, that are coming over fully bonded and insured, from what I understood. The gist of that piece alone was to talk about the negative effect that these battery explosions, which are from 99% of the time user error.
I would agree.
How it starts with the lawsuits and the amount of lawsuits are just ridiculous, and they continue to grow. I think I saw 2 more reports today of an explosion that I had never heard of yet that just happened. To what happens once these pieces go into a file claim, how it's handled from there, and then it, obviously they wanted to get UL because they're the folks that design the standards for these batteries, and they kind of give all the specs, the discharge rates, and all all of that technical stuff that I really just do not understand because it's above my level of intelligence right now. But these guys are engineers that were speaking yesterday, and I mean, you should have seen the depth that they went into, talking about just the components and where they come from in these batteries and how they're made, and it just blew me away. And then the gentleman from Turning Point got up and spoke about this new deal that they had just worked out. And these batteries, I don't know if you know or not, but I think it's the LGs. I think some of the Sonys now are coming in that say not for e-cig use.
I haven't run across those
batteries
yet.
are used in a device, and that device malfunctions. That's going to be on the store because those batteries were never intended to be put into a device.
In a high drain device like that.
Yep. So if
you mentioned something else that I found very alarming,
good,
and I know that it was alarming to you and whoever else was at that conference. When these lawsuits get filed, predominantly it is directly falling on the shop or the store that sold the batteries, because the battery manufacturers are not stepping up and doing anything about it.
Yeah, they've not been, the battery manufacturers, if something happens and you don't have your documentation from that battery manufacturer that it was a Class A battery, and that the whole process from when it was produced to when it was shipped over, if you don't have that paperwork, that's going to fall on the shop owner. I mean, it's unfortunate as it is, but once it's sent into the States, you don't have the track record behind it, it's going to fall on you.
And that's something I'm not even directly sure just how much, even though every shop is going to carry insurance, I really don't know how much that is going to be covered in any kind of an insurance policy. That's what scared the hell out of me. I was like, holy mackerel, these people are really putting themselves right out there that
And Mike, and I'm pretty sure if a lawsuit happened and they filed a claim, that insurance company would probably have to pay out that claim, but I'm sure you wouldn't have insurance the next time you turned around.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sure that they would either cancel your policy or raise the premium so much that it would be punitive and you'd go out of business.
Exactly. So if you're buying batteries, you need to find out where they're being produced. You need to do some research on that company and make sure they are Class A batteries.
Now there was another one that caught me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, there was something else that I saw that you had done with Ohio Vapor, or with the vapor station stores, in continuing with battery safety, is disposing of batteries when they're dead, shot, or when you're just ready to get rid of them. And you have a collection point for people to bring in batteries to dispose of, correct?
Correct. So one of the things, in my conversations with Tony way back, I'll get back to the battery recycling thing in a second, was VTA was developing marketing standards because we have to be professionals of our industry and be 360-degree leaders, right? That doesn't just stand with marketing. That also stands with responsibility for safe battery handling. So if we want to be 360-degree merchants and stewards of the community, we not only need to provide batteries that are safe, give instructions on safe handling, but also provide the opportunity for the consumer to come back and encourage them to come back and recycle their batteries so we can get those things put back to where they need to go, not back into the landfills. So I got a hold of an organization called Battery Solutions. We talked for a couple of days, and they came up with a special price for vape shops. If they'd like to purchase these buckets, they purchase the 35-pound bucket. They attach a self-addressed return prepaid sticker on them, and then they also have a certificate of, I'm going to screw this up, certificate of completion, I think is what it's called, that you can actually rip off and put in your file. So you have that as proof that, hey, you did recycle, especially in areas where you're being held to recycle.
Right.
You have that proof, but you can also take that proof if you're meeting with your state representative and say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Representative, we started this initiative here to make sure we're collecting as many batteries for safe disposal as we possibly can. So that's kind of where it started, and it started with my 5 stores. Then I reached out to Sensi Vapors, and they picked up the program. Reached out to Vapors Depot in Florida, they picked it up. And then from there, I've talked to 4 or 5 other state association leaders, and it sounds like it's going to grow some legs. It went so well that Battery Solutions actually purchased a booth for VTA for that we just had, and we're on site talking about the program to attendees there.
That is fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that. I was really surprised when I saw that pop up. I'm like, now that's just an awesome idea to be able to get people to understand that these are not things that you just throw in the trash, because I'm sure inadvertently somewhere in all of that it would, even if they're almost dead, if it's shorted out or came in contact with other metal, it's going to vent and it's possibly going to cause a fire in a trash can or something overnight. So when I saw that, I was just like, that's awesome.
Thanks. And through me posting that a little bit, I also saw that some shops were doing recycling programs, which is fantastic. They were collecting the batteries and then they were dropping them off at Best Buy or Batteries Plus, which is still great. I want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward to let people know that we want them back in our stores. We want to make sure that they're recycled. We want to make sure that the community understands that we're not here to just sell product. We want it to come back and make sure it goes to where it needs to go.
Yep, and it does. It shows that you're going full circle in everything that you're doing.
I mean, a $60 expense every 4 or 5 months to send these batteries back it pales in comparison to what could happen if somebody puts a battery in the wrong spot. You know what I mean?
Yep, very much.
So
I'm going to tell people, if they've got questions, as we've got James on the phone, they can give a call in And as long as my technology is working on my end, we might be able to hook everybody together. But the listener call-in line is 215-383-5752. Again, if you got questions for James or just something out of curiosity, give us a call, and we'll see what's going on. James, I tell you what.
No topic is off limits. So.
Just be careful that we don't get the Rod Man calling in and talking about how he raised money down at the Tennessee show. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I saw. That's something I can't unsee. I've seen the video and I cannot unsee it. But God love the Rod Man for doing what he does.
Yeah, for people that don't know, Rod Man works on vaperadio.com. Serious advocate. A hell of a nice guy. Had turned around and literally at the after party had made a bet or something with someone, and he is always raising money for advocacy for groups and things. He turned around and he said, okay, you know what, we raised money, and he'll strip down to the buff and go cruising, running through the parking lot. And the video was of him doing just that. I went, oh my God. I was shocked.
Well,
but
Mike, after seeing that video, now I know why they call him the Rod Man.
Yep, that's it, too. I talked with him the next day, and he just sit there. He goes, there are days that I make myself wonder. I'm like, Rod, yeah, tell me about it. Well, listen,
you ain't the only one, buddy.
He's awesome, just awesome. I want to shift gears a little bit. Talking about the store, and I know there's a couple other things that we're going to touch base on about the conference in D.C.,
sure.
But there's something that I really want a couple of people to be able to hear coming directly from you, a store owner and now president of the OHVTA. And it's about advocacy. It's about joining a state program. And if you could tell a shop that had no clue, I mean, Joe Public and his wife decided to open a vape shop, and they got their insurance and they got everything lined up, but they had never heard about a state advocacy program. In short, what might you tell them that they would be inclined, or that they might give good consideration to joining OHVTA or another state org?
First things first, you want to talk about what's going on in the industry, in the state, challenges that we've had, and successes that we've had from those challenges, I guess you would say, victories, if you will. And we all know that the larger an organization is, the more of an audience that we can take to a situation to hopefully make an impact and an impression on either that representative or that senator or that city council person. Being a member of an organization like this is something special. It's a thing of pride to know that you're in this with your supposed competition across the street, but at the end of the day, we all share customers. Our main goal is to convert smokers to vapor. And if we want to really do that and win, we need to bind together in a club, so to speak. And that's what this is about. It's about joining a club or an organization that has the same beliefs as you, and your end goal is to get somebody off of tobacco into our industry and protect our industry from any kind of taxation or age ban or flavor ban. And the best way to do that is to join a club, get your numbers, your membership up, so when you do go have these meetings, you can say proudly that I'm a member of OHVTA and we have 133 business members in our organization. That makes an impact, especially if it's 133 business members that have anywhere from 6 to 8 people working there. The numbers start to add up quick as far as the impact that this reaches. And then you've got, 40 to 50 customers a day times that 133 businesses. So now you're making really large numbers. And the bigger the number, the more the attention we're going to get from that politician.
One of the biggest things that I can think of directly offhand, if I'm not mistaken, it was last year, that Ohio was facing a rather large state tax.
Yeah.
Do you remember how much that was?
So, Ohio has been attempted to be taxed by Governor Kasich 3 times in 5 years. The first attempt was 98% of the wholesale. OHVTA helped with several other organizations or lobbying businesses. We combined together in a coalition, and we beat that. The second time they tried to tax us, it was 45% of wholesale, 45% retail. Again, we reached out to our fellow business members that have a vested interest, like the Wholesalers Association, the Grocers Association, the Petroleum Association, folks that sell tobacco and vapor. In our coalition, we got together and we went down and testified, and we killed that tax attempt. And the most recent one was 69% wholesale, which we defeated again for the third time. Now, they did tax tobacco again on that bill, but we were able to get vapor removed at the last minute. So those are the types of things that joining an organization will do for you, as long as your organization is active. Whenever there's calls to action, that not only they respond, but they ask their consumer or their customer to respond. The more times that a member gets a letter or an email or a call, the more times that whenever we go speak in front of them, they're going to remember, oh, you know what, I got 52 calls yesterday on this same issue. These are 52 potential votes that I'm not going to have, or I'm going to have if I support it.
And that's kind of important for people to hear, is because just in our neighboring state, in Pennsylvania, they had a 40% tax and a 40% floor tax. And as soon as that came into effect, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was upwards of over 100 shops that just outright closed within like a 6-month period because they couldn't afford it.
It's like 135 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we actually used that story during testimony about, hey, if you implement this tax, there's 700 vape shops or 700 vape businesses in the state of Ohio. In one day, essentially, Pennsylvania lost a third of their stores. You wipe out a third of 700 in Ohio, that is a huge impact, because the numbers that I have it figured out to be is, in the state of Ohio, there's about 700 vape businesses at about 6 or 7 employees per. It's about 4,500 employees. Through some other detailed information that I've got, we roughly reach about 450,000 customers a year in the state of Ohio.
Wow.
You want to ruin an economy really quick, put 4,500 people out of work, eliminate 700 primarily small and independent business owners that have sunk everything that they had into this industry, and then you're going to piss off 450,000 consumers, pushing them back to tobacco, which we know what happens, or worse yet, you're going to push them to a black market where we know things may not be 100% up to snuff.
No, and that's...
Because it will happen. Look what happened in Pittsburgh, or Pennsylvania.
That's one of the things that I try to talk with a lot of people about, and it was one of the questions. We've blown right past the easy questions and gotten into the really serious questions already. But it was one of the things on my list of the serious question side that I ask people is, if you had somebody come in your shop and they turn around and they said, hey, some guy just tried to sell me some juice out of the back of his car, how would you personally handle that?
First off, I would hope to God they didn't buy it. And then I would explain to him, the reason you come into a shop is you want to get a brand and a product that is trusted and made in a sanitary condition. Not saying the parking lot juice guy was or wasn't, but I know the stuff in my stores. I have background information on the company. I have traceability, because pretty much everything I carry has a batch number attached to it from the companies that I purchase from. I know a lot of the liquid owners, like you and Fig. I know them personally. If there's an issue, I know who to come to, but I know where you guys have your stuff done is in a very clean, sanitary environment. That's why you come to a shop. If you're looking for a cheap liquid because you don't have the ability maybe to come in and buy, if that's a risk you're willing to take, go ahead. But I would much prefer to see you in a shop that markets responsibly, that IDs responsibly, and that brings quality product to the public.
I am very much the same way. So when I run into people like that, I tell them, don't hurt yourselves. Don't get involved in something. I discourage people, from buying juice because it's just like you said. At that step, you really don't know what you're getting. And we've all heard horror stories about sanitary conditions and people making things in very, very unsanitary kitchens and whatnot. So it's just...
the irony of all of this is most of us liquid manufacturers started at a kitchen table.
Yeah.
But we've learned how to become professional and how to become a real business.
It's true. Yeah,
does things.
Everybody that I know, I know that Two Stone did. We sat and we began our journey mixing, at a small table with an array of flavors in front of us. But thankfully, we had enough people telling us the things that we needed to hear, that we were able to really begin on the right step and go to somebody that had clean environment and be able to bottle and do things just like that. But there are a lot of people that don't.
That actual scenario, Mike, was part of our discussion with Senator Sherrod Brown's health aid yesterday.
Really?
Was about this industry and how it started basically at the kitchen table. And if the industry continues to go the way it is and the deeming regs go into effect, it's going to push people back to tobacco, or it's going to push it back to its roots. And at the beginning of the vaping time, people were mixing on the kitchen table because you can buy everything, with the exception of nicotine, pretty much at Walmart, or you could order it online, and you can order the nicotine online. I said, do you really want to push a situation where it's going to go back to a black market, and you don't know who is mixing and what they're doing?
No, because
they can even build the devices from stuff found at Home Depot.
I won't even get into the battery issue that people were stripping batteries out of. No, oh my God, that's horror all by itself.
Yeah, so we did actually talk about that with two representatives yesterday, but the one I specifically remember was Sherrod Brown's aide, his health department aide. So that was interesting.
If you could sure, wind through your mind for just a moment, what other major kind of thing stood out to you from this conference in Washington with the VTA?
One of the biggest things, well, first off, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the emphasis put on battery safety. Clearly above and beyond anything. That was number one key point. Number two key point, obviously, was marketing standards. When VTA met with the FDA a few months back, Tony and the board talked about marketing standards that VTA was developing as it relates to IDing, as it related to no self-service cases, as it related to child infringing labels, child appealing labels and IP infringing labels, as it appeared to, all these things that we come to know that how a professional business should be ran, right? On the second visit 2 weeks ago in Washington, they went to meet with the FDA again, and they had their standards book, and every single person from the FDA asked if they could have a copy of that. So Tony went and had a bunch of them made and handed out. The ones he couldn't hand out, he actually emailed to them. So they requested them from VTA. So that kind of, was eye-opening. And then what really on top of that was when we started meeting with our reps the next day, I had two reps ask me specifically if OHVTA had any kind of a marketing standard. And I said, it's funny you should ask that because we just talked about this morning yesterday in this conference. And the federal association that OHVTA is a member of does have marketing standards, and we will be implementing them in the coming weeks in Ohio. So it was very ironic that that conversation happened the day before, and then it gets brought up the next day.
Now, when you're talking about marketing standards, what might a couple of limitations look like for marketing standards?
Well, for one, one of the pieces was IP theft. If you produce a liquid that clearly has IP theft, you're more than likely not going to be able to join OHVTA. If you are a store and you carry a product that has IP theft, you have it advertised on your Facebook page and all that fun stuff. And that's something that you're probably going to be asked to remove, in hopes that it's going to be gone and won't have to be dealt with. IDing is another piece. One of the things is there's got to be an emphasis on the IDing with either using the FDA-provided calendars. You can use the WeCard program. Both WeCard and FDA also have a training manual on their website about how to ID that you can have all your employees read. It has to be signage at the front door. It has to have signage at your register and your testing bar. Again, this is all stuff that we do in my stores already, but
I know that there are a lot of stores out there that are the ones that are trying to be responsible are just now trying to catch up with a lot of things that they should have been doing maybe for a while, and the other ones, they just don't care. And for anybody that's listening or watching, I would encourage, if you run into a store that looks like it has any issue or problem, please don't shop there, and encourage other people not to shop there.
So, Mike, there is now a form on the FDA website that you can fill out if you're in a shop and you see product that should not necessarily be there.
Really?
Yeah, that came across in the VTA piece on FDA inspections and store visits on Tuesday.
Now, I'm not going to name names, but I'm hoping that somebody that I know that has a store here in the Northeast Ohio area, he and I were just talking earlier this morning about another store. And again, this is all kind of by word of mouth, so I can't attest how much of it is really true. But my understanding is there may be a store out there that is opening liquid, watering it down, putting it in new bottles, resealing it, and selling it. And he was asking me this morning, what can I do about that? And I told him, I said, number one, you might want to talk to the FDA. You might want to check with local authorities or people like that. But that sounds exactly like something he might want to check into.
Right. And I think there was a few different categories. Like if you're in a shop and you see a product that might have intellectual property theft, mark this box. And it was that kind of a form. I don't know exactly where it is on their site yet. I'm going to try to get more information from Tony, but I know it is available now.
Fantastic. That's a piece of information I hope that everybody who's listening will go and check out. Because, folks, this is something that is huge, near and dear, not only to my heart, but anybody that's in advocacy, anybody that is doing what they should be doing. These stores that are selling products that are and should not be sold, or are child appealing labels, or IP infringement, or selling garbage. These are the places that need to either change the way they do business or stop doing business, because these are the stores that are hurting the industry all the way around.
I mean, time and time again, how many times do you hear us being referred to as big tobacco? And the vape industry, big tobacco is doing it again with the vape industry. I had to emphasize that fact in all 8 meetings yesterday that we are not big tobacco. So these this campaign for tobacco-free kids and Flavors Hook Kids website messages are 100% false. We are not big tobacco.
No.
Does big tobacco own some vape companies? Yes, they do. But we are not big tobacco. We are primarily independent small businesses that have invested in this technology, in this life-saving technology, to help better people and help get them off of tobacco.
Fantastic. And I'm seeing over here in the Facebook chat window, gentleman has said that he has already filled out that form for 2 different shops in a local area that would be local to me here in Northeast Ohio. And that's fantastic.
Oh, nice.
You know, it's going to take all of us to change, to self-police, to be able to clean things up. Otherwise, we're all just going to sink. And that's horrible.
Right. But, you know, there was a lot of good that came out of our meetings yesterday with the representatives. There were some reps that didn't know that we had a gag order on us, and were absolutely appalled that we couldn't tell people that 6 milligrams of nicotine is less than 12 milligrams. But the opposition could say that our product is dangerous and you shouldn't use it.
Yeah.
They were baffled by that fact. I had a congressman sit there and tell me that I can't believe that they're trying to change the law in certain cities to 21 and over to vape and smoke, but because you can go out and fight for your country at 18, and which is the argument we've always used.
Yeah.
He just happens to be a military person, still does his weekends, even though he's been in Congress for a while. He was appalled by that. I had a congressman tell me that the FDA was absolutely asinine because here the government's supposed to help small business, and yet you guys have provided a roadmap to get people off of tobacco, and they're trying to put you out of business.
Would you say
it does not make sense? It's absolutely asinine.
Wow. Would you say that the meetings that you've had with people and the ones that are actively trying to pay attention and listen, would you say that they overall are unaware of how things are going in the vape industry? Are they really unaware? They just listen or catch media sound bites and they're not getting the whole story?
They do catch a lot of media sound bites, but they're also not naive enough to know that there is fake news out there. And I actually had the same congressman that dropped the asinine comment. Actually, the first thing he said, I'm getting sick of seeing this hashtag fake news reporting of all this e-cigarettes trying to market to kids. That was his comment to me.
Wow.
So they know that there's fake news out there, but you got to realize they have all these different aides that work under them and staffers that their job is to go through and filter through news every day. One person might have health for newspaper. One might have health for TV and radio. They filter through all this stuff. They see it and they try to filter through it. The good thing that we have going for us in several of the districts that I spoke with yesterday is their staffers, obviously most of the time are young or interns. And we met with 3 yesterday that I believe their significant other, whether it was a female or male, as a staffer or intern, vaped. So they're starting to understand on that level, and hopefully that translates into conversation with their boss, which would be the congressman or senator or whomever. One in particular is actually a rep, a congressman up in your area, Congressman Tim Ryan. He's been against the industry, spoken out against us quite a bit. His health staffer met with us yesterday, and her boyfriend has been a vapor for 1.5 years, and she is absolutely ecstatic that he's off of cigarettes.
That's
told
fantastic.
her the whole entire story, about Rural College of Physicians. She asked about popcorn lung. She asked about wet lung. We covered that whole piece. I think Bill Tarling gave me some information. I asked him while we were in another office about the wet lungs piece, because they didn't have it on me. He Facebooked it to me. We talked about how we can't make health claims and how this industry is going to die in less than 4 years if we don't get some relief and put pressure on the FDA to let us innovate so we can become a safer industry. And, you know, the onerous FDA regulations that myself, if I have 278 SKUs and I'm going to have to pay X amount per SKU, I'm looking in the $300s to $400 million to try to get my product approved, and nobody has that.
No.
She was just absolutely blown away. Absolutely blown away. And then we talked about the IDing piece, how we operate in my stores. They get ID'd at the front register, whether they're 18 or 80, or at the front door when they come in. They go to the testing bar, they get ID'd again because they get rang up for their test, because my registers are set to ID every time there's a transaction. And then if they decide to buy something and they get ID'd at the counter, their ID gets scanned, and if they're under 18 or 21, depending on what store it is, their sale gets denied. And again, this absolutely impressed that we told her we don't want youth vaping. That's not our goal. Our goal is to get people off cigarettes, not encourage vaping and youth, and not to sell cartoon product. Our goal is to sell professionally done, responsible labeled product in a clean environment and get people off of tobacco. That is our goal. And if we lose customers by success from getting people off of tobacco, that is the most reward we can have.
And that's it, too. That is it in a nutshell. It's why the vaping industry is here. It's why it's around. But James, we're going to get ready to wrap up.
We had fantastic meetings there, Mike. Honestly, even Sherrod Brown's person, who Sherrod has been one of those senators that signs those chain letters to the FDA about how they need to shut us down now. Even his health person is open to dialogue now.
Wow.
So the only way that happens is when there are call to actions and people write letters. They have to do that because the congressmen see those results. And every time you call into an office, that call has to be recorded or reported on a log. And those logs get reviewed every 30 days.
That's one thing for people that are listening or watching to remember is your voice, even though you may only be just a single individual, or you might have somebody that is right near you that also is a vapor, but these individual voices are coming together to make a collective that is actually being heard. And we all need to keep it up. We need to keep moving and educate a lot of other people that are not in the industry. You know, we could all sit and talk in a circle for as long as we want, and we can all agree with each other as much as we want. But unless we get outside of our own circle and talk to these people that really have no clue about what we do or why or what the industry is, we have a problem.
Absolutely.
Well, James, we're going to get ready to wrap up the hour here real quick. Again, you have Vapor Station stores, and your stores are primarily in the Columbus area, but you have how many here in Ohio?
I have 5 in the central Ohio area. There are a total of 20 of us throughout Ohio, mostly focused in central Ohio or up in the northeast area of Akron, Canton, Massillon, Hartville, Alliance, that area up that way.
Fantastic. Do you have an online presence or do you do online sales?
We do. The best way to get a hold of any product is to go to westsidevapor.com. That is how I got brought into the industry. That is the company that was started 11 years ago by Jason. He has a wide array of devices, liquids, or what have you. If you want to go to one of my pages, you go to vaporstationcolumbus.com, I believe it is. Or you can go to enormouseliquids.com. It'll take you to my storefront. You have to go through the blue check system where you have to, if you buy something, you have to submit your picture of your ID, that whole fun thing.
Yep.
But it's all there. Other than
Awesome.
that, we have a great great time doing what we do. And I think the quote of the day that I had when we were meeting with our reps was this: if you go to work every day and do something that you enjoy and that is rewarding, it's not really, and you believe in, it's not really a job.
No, that is wholeheartedly true. I'm not going to let you get out of here just yet. I call it, it's WTF time. It's just two quick questions. One of them is actually turned into a poll of sorts. The other is just a quick, funny question that I want to ask. The poll is, if there was a cloud comp between Snoop Dogg and Steven Tyler, who would win?
Wow. Well, I'm going to say that Snoop Dogg's probably going to win that one.
All right, we got another one for Snoop Dogg. The second one, if Jack Nicholson were to vape, would he carry a mechanical? Would he carry a sub-ohm? Would he carry an RDA? Or would he carry something like a closed pod system?
I think Jack is a pretty no-nonsense guy. He doesn't want to deal with anything that might aggravate him, so he's probably going to go with a really, really high-end pod system.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, James Jarvis, Vapor Station, multiple locations throughout Ohio, president of the Ohio Vapors Trade Association. James, does the OHVTA have a Facebook link?
We do. So OHVTA it's just the Ohio Vapor Trade Association on Facebook. You can now go to OHVTA.com. We have a website. We're on Twitter at Ohio Vaping. Incidentally enough, after we got done with Senator Portman, he retweeted us and thanked us for coming to his office. So that was really cool. But last and not least, Mike, if there's shops on here, please go to either the OHVTA Facebook page or go to the VTA Facebook page and share the I am not an anecdote piece. I think I put the link in the chat on Spreaker. But please share that, because that is sworn testimony that will be able to be used against the FDA after Mr. Gottlieb said that our stories are just anecdotes. I want to thank you for your time coming on the show, and anytime you need me for answers or anything, please call me.
Hey, I definitely will. Ladies and gentlemen, James Jarvis. James, I really appreciate it. A lot of good information for
Mike.
people to really mull over and think about, and hopefully it'll sway some minds.
Hope so.
Yeah, I really hope it does. But I appreciate you coming on tonight.
And if anybody
go ahead.
If anybody that's watching ever has a question, they can reach out to me directly.
Oh,
I have
that's
no problem with
fantastic.
that. My phone's always on. My Facebook's always open.
James Jarvis, Ohio Vapors Trade Association and Vapors Station Stores, multiple locations in Ohio. James, I hope you have a great night.
You too, Mike. Thanks again, and take care, everybody.
Take care. James Jarvis with Ohio Vapors Trade Association. Again, a lot of very good, fantastic information. We could have sat and talked for another hour and a half with him about the VTA conference in Washington, D.C., and as I go along, I'll try to pick up some more information. But by all means, check him out. Check out OHVTA. See what they have to offer for you, for your store. And coming up next week, and I've got to find the media file for this just really quick, but it is going to be a rather, let's call it an interesting show, because we're going to have, honestly, a special guest next week. This is going to be kind of, and here's what I've got. Coming up next week, and this, I know this is probably going to run more than an hour in length, but next week we are going to have Mr. David Gorlitz, the former Winston man, the guy that did the advertising for Winston cigarettes. He's going to be on, and I'm going to tell you something right now. Very wonderful guy. outspoken, hardcore. So join us next week with David Goerlitz. I'm looking forward to that show. That's going to be pretty awesome. Until then, I seriously appreciate you taking the time to stop, check out what I'm doing. I appreciate you taking the time to check in here on Vaping and the Mic. And until next week, I will catch up with everybody later. I hope everybody has a great week and a great weekend as it goes along. Again, thanks for joining me on Vaping and the Mic.